Namaste. We are here with Gautamji once again, and we are having a series of discussions on the teachings of Baba and the Satcharit. Gautam, thank you as always for your time.
My pleasure.
So, Gautam, in continuation to the earlier episode, there was this Leela that Vinima had shared of Baba's, which is titled "My Satcharit is Not a Pillow." So, it is published on the channel if people devotees can watch it. But in essence, there was a devotee who was ill, critically ill, and Baba basically appeared to him, healed him, and that man was given a Satcharit by a friend to read. But he was not a devotee of Baba, so he just put it by his pillow, or rather below his pillow, and slept over it. And Baba told him these words that my Satcharit is not a pillow, it is meant to be understood and lived by.
That is it. I'm glad you mentioned these words. That because these Baba himself has said. So forget that I am saying them. You see, even if you think who's this joker who's saying you have to understand and live by Baba's words, now you're saying Baba himself has said it. Understood and lived by. That is so important. And this pillow, we all do it, Nick. We have our favorite books, right? Which, let's say someone's following another master. It is by the bedside. You open, you read a page, you close it. It could be the Gospel of Ram Krishna, it could be anything. But this understood and lived by is what we should keep the book down, contemplate on. And in fact, an important pointer is, you see, like many masters say, before sleeping, tune your mind to something spiritual. And many people have this practice of reading something, putting it down before sleeping. It's very important, you see, because that filters into the subconscious before sleep. And in sleep, that becomes part of the consciousness. So it is very important what thoughts are we going to sleep with. Very important. So the pillow, the book by our side, to read that before sleeping, any time in the day, but before sleeping is extremely potent because there are hours when the conscious mind is not functioning in deep sleep. The subconscious is. It is absorbing it. It is imbibing the knowledge with a capital K. So that is also a very beautiful practice where we are not involved because we are unconscious in deep sleep, but the teaching still operates. In fact, it is not interrupted by the conscious mind, and so it blossoms and blooms in sleep.
Gautam, as one starts reading the Satcharit and imbibing it, through the series with you, like it may give people pointers that they may not have had earlier. One of the possibilities could be that they start becoming aware that they are not living the teaching.
Very true.
So, could you talk a bit about that?
I think that's most beautiful because that means earlier they were unconscious. Now they are conscious that they are not living by the book, you see. It is a very big step. Let's take another example. Someone starts meditating, and it's a very common example. And they'll say, oh my God, I had so many thoughts in the meditation. It was a very bad meditation. I say, no, it's very good. Because now you know that there were many thoughts. Earlier, you were running after all the thoughts. You sat for meditation. Now you know that there were many thoughts. So already the separation has happened between thoughts and being constantly involved in thinking, and now the awareness, I was involved in many thoughts. Very big step. It is an extremely big step on the spiritual journey. So coming back to what you mentioned, that what happens when people know they are not living the teachings? It is actually a big step, because now the awareness has kicked in. That awareness was not there earlier. Earlier, let's say one was on autopilot. Now, Baba has gifted us the awareness that we are not living the teaching. That itself will do wonders. It will make us more and more aware that we are not living the teaching. That is how it works. So it is still working, because things are being made conscious to us. Earlier, we were not conscious. Now we are at least conscious of our failings, so to speak. You see? And so the opportunity is now manifest to allow the teaching to be imbibed more and more. So it is not a negative thing. It to say that I'm not living the teachings takes courage. Many people are in denial. Many people are not aware they are not living. Now at least the awareness is there.
And also, Gautam, it is true because I realize, for example, in my own case, when I read the Charitra, or say if we are doing a podcast, the teachings are not very easy to live. So, this step, even I do it as a practice. For example, once I was making pointers to discuss with you, I'll just share this story. And I was walking by in the complex, and someone honked at the gate. They wanted to come in, and the guard was not there. So I opened the gate and I walked by. Then they just drove past, got off the car, and went off. And within me, I said, oh, I mean, not even the courtesy to smile and acknowledge, like, see, because if someone does that to me, at least I smile, I
Of
say
course.
thank you. But then I realized, see, that is also an expectation. And I realized the teachings are not easy to live. However subtle it is, that is an expectation. And I said, it is not easy to live the teachings, but maybe the awareness that you are not living also is a guiding pointer.
Yes, but in this example that you used, you see, it is natural to expect, one could say, that if a courteous gesture was done, it would be acknowledged. That is still not the issue. The issue is it didn't happen. Okay. The expectation, no matter how subtle, was not met. But with Baba's understanding, with living the teaching, you do not hold that person responsible that, oh, he did not acknowledge me. That involvement is cut off, because you accept it was meant to be this way, as per Baba's will. So no individual is targeted anymore. You see, that is the difference. So, and let's not forget, we have years and years and decades of conditioning behind us. And sometimes, as my teacher Rameshji would say, that crust around the ego is very hard. And it takes constant hammering, constant tap, 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 tap for it to crack, you see. For some people, where the crust is not so hard, it just takes a few tap taps.
Correct.
For some people, in fact, that is why Ramana Maharshi said that some people wake up to the spiritual journey after the first one or two blows early in life. But for some, it may take 5 or 6 blows. But eventually, you get the blows, and the blows are what take you to the spiritual journey. So it is certainly not easy to live the teachings. But to emphasize the point, that even if one is aware that one is not living the teachings, it shows that the intention is to live the teachings. And then the force of the teachings of Baba, of consciousness, will work to support the person. Because the person has, like I said, been courageous enough to acknowledge that the teachings are not being lived by me. It's a big step.
One good thing about us doing digital work and a digital edition of the new Essential Sai Satcharit, that complaint can never come again that someone is using it as a pillow.
That's a good one.
Oh, thank you, Gautam.
Thank you.